Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex. If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. And if you enjoy listening to our show, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on the episodes. Finally, aside from our podcast, our day job here at Riderflex is to provide recruiting, staffing, and consulting services. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get the information on the services we provide. And now, a quick word from our sponsor and friends at Marketing 360.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
A cannabis consulting owner on the Riderflex podcast, Kim Stuck. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I can't wait to get into it because, we do a lot of cannabis recruiting at Riderflex. It's a big part of our business, probably 30% of our overall volume as a consulting or as a recruiting firm. So super familiar. Plus, I did a little work for Mindful before they were sold to Live Well. So I'm sure we know a lot of the same people. We can talk about stories. But before we get into it, let's talk about you, the person. Let's talk about Kim. Where'd she grow up? Family stuff, maybe some early life stuff, if you don't mind. Go for it.
Yeah. So I am originally from a little town called Loveland, Colorado. I was born and raised there. It was really small when I was there, but now it's actually kind of big and it's like melding into Fort Collins right now. So yeah, that's where I grew up. So I'm actually a Colorado native. I am married to an amazing partner. He is very supportive of everything that I do and the cannabis industry in general. Started out as I was a bartender actually for many, many years. I actually didn't go back to college until I was 25 years old. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
I saw that 5-year gap right there. And I saw the bartending and I thought, okay, I know what happened. She started school. Then she started making pretty solid money as a bartender.
You got it.
She, then she was having fun and then she's like, I don't need school. And then I don't know. Is that close?
Totally. Yeah. So the first time I went to school, I went for fine arts and photography. So I love art and I was an artist but to be an artist and make a lot of money and make it well, you have to be very talented and really dedicate yourself. And usually for most of your life, you're a poor, starving artist, right? So I started bartending to try to make ends meet. Loved bartending, loved the restaurant industry, service industry, got really involved in that. And then I turned about 25 and went, okay, I need to do something different. I can't be behind this bar forever. This isn't going to last forever. And I need to, make it work. And so I went back to school to Metro in Denver, Metro University in Denver. And I went for human nutrition biochem, which sounds really weird, but I've always been athletic. I've always worried about what I've eaten. I have a family that actually dies of heart disease pretty regularly. We're all from Louisiana and have that slow metabolism and, so I've always been concerned about that kind of thing. And so that's what I decided to go back to school for. I loved it. I loved school, got a lot of food safety education there, biochemistry education there, chemistry, culinary. I mean, it was a cool degree. I recommend it for anybody that's interested. And so while I was there, my food safety professor, I did really well in that class. Blood pathogens and all that fun, gross stuff. And he was like, hey, I know, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a registered dietitian because that would take 2 more years of school. And I didn't really want to work in a hospital. So I didn't know what I was going to do. Okay. And he said, hey, I have friends that are health inspectors. How would you feel about that? And I said, oh, well, I've worked in restaurants my whole life. I feel like I'd be pretty good at that. Great. And sure enough, they had an opening in Denver. I put in my application and ended up working as a health inspector in Denver for DDPHE, which is Denver Department of Public Health and Environment. like 3 days after I graduated, I got the job. And so it
Wow,
was
nice.
really cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
really cool job. We did wholesale food manufacturing and we did restaurants in Denver metro area.
Okay.
And so that is how I got into the cannabis industry, actually. So I was doing that for a little while. 2014 happened, and that was when
Mhm.
adult use legalization happened in
Mhm.
Colorado.
Mhm.
There was no health department at the time that was regulating, and Denver is a very, very strict health department, and they aren't going to allow edibles and things like that to be out being sold in their county if they're not paying attention to it. And so they kind of were like, okay, guys, we got to tackle this. So there was only 9 inspectors at that time. And we all kind of had to figure it out and learn a whole lot about cannabis. Within a couple of months, they really realized, hey, this is way more than we thought it was going to be. We bit off a little more than we could chew. And so I kind of wrote my own job plan, if you will,
Wow. How
saying,
about
hey,
that?
I want to be the cannabis specialist. This is all I want to do is the cannabis side of everything. And they were like, yeah, that's what we need. We need someone that wants to do it, first of all, because a lot of people were very like, I don't know about this, because it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work and a lot of stuff that we didn't understand at the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So they were like, okay, you've got the job. And then by the time I left, there was a team of 5 of us, which was pretty cool. And now I think they have like 16 inspectors. I mean, so they've grown
Really?
quite a bit. Denver has grown quite a bit in
Well,
that time.
is it safe to say you were the first inspector?
Yeah, for a public health authority. Absolutely.
How about that?
That
Were
was,
you into cannabis? Were you a cannabis girl in Loveland High School? Were you a cannabis user? I mean, you're like, was cannabis like your thing, or
I grew up in Colorado. Everybody
oh,
who
right.
grew up in Colorado was around cannabis for sure. So I was very pro cannabis. I feel like
Okay.
that, from the
Okay.
beginning, I think, there's so many good things that it can do for people,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
medical,
Okay.
and all of that. So yeah, absolutely.
Were your
Um,
parents, did they know you were a cannabis user when you were young or yeah?
No, I come from a very conservative family. In fact, when I started my own company, when I was telling people, okay, I'm going to become a cannabis consultant, I remember my mom like teared up a little. Like
Are you
I think
serious?
she
Well,
thought,
but
yeah,
she knew you were an inspector for cannabis though, right?
yeah, but that was a little different. I mean, when I
Right.
worked, yeah, when I worked for the government, they called me the weed whacker in Denver.
She thought of you as like the police of cannabis, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So that
Yeah.
was
And
okay.
I kind of was. I mean, I that was what was so taxing about that particular job is when you're a regulator, you can't tell people what to do. You can't give them advice. You
Hmm.
can't solve their problems. You state what the regulation is, and the onus is on them to become compliant with that regulation.
I see.
So, and that's really
So,
what made my aha moment happen was I was out at a routine inspection with my boss at the time. And there was like a plumbing issue or something. And it was a really easy fix. All I had to do was say, oh, just get this or whatever. And I almost did that. And my boss was like, no, 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 you can't tell them that. And I was like, yeah, but it's so simple. And she's like, yeah, but you're not a consultant. That's what consultants are for. And I went, well, there are no consultants.
you went,
There are none, and they had no one to lean on. Yeah. And so I went, well, why am I not the consultant? And so that was, yeah, I went home that day and I literally talked to my husband and I was like, gosh, I'll just start my own consulting firm, like joking around. And he was like, yeah, actually, you really should do that. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, but it made sense, obviously. And now that's what I do now. And so
now people don't, just to set the stage for the listeners. Now there's a bunch of cannabis consultants and firms and things, but in 2017, that was a small pond, right? You were like probably one of the first consultant cannabis executives around at that time that had actually worked for the state even and had all that experience. Not very many people with that resume at the time. And still,
yeah. Well, and there still aren't even cannabis compliance consultants, really. I mean, there's a couple of people that are just themselves, and you can hire them for like state compliance. But really we don't have that much competition when it comes to like FDA, OSHA, fire code, GMP certification, that kind of stuff.
Let me, I want to back up. I got to ask you a couple of personal questions here. Then we'll come back to Allay, right? It is Allay, right? I'm saying it correctly. Yeah. I want to back up for a minute. Were you an only child?
No, I have two brothers.
Okay. All right. Are they younger or older or what?
I'm the middle child. So one older, one younger.
You're the middle child. Okay. And you grew up in a super conservative family, like you like your mom and dad took you to church every Sunday type of deal, or just conservative in nature? Okay.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah.
All
very
right.
Christian, very conservative.
Okay. All right. So mom and dad never knew about cannabis when you were young? No. Okay.
Nope.
And what'd your folks do?
So my mom actually was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad was an engineer, and they actually ended up breaking up when I was about 13. And so mom kind of took everything on. No, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So mom was single mom working as a, she was like a secretary of like a doctor's office.
Okay.
And then she was raising us. So, I mean, she was a pretty strong, badass woman. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Right. Okay. And then, yeah. Wow. Are they both still in Colorado?
Yes, they are.
Okay, very good. All right. By the way, I live in Johnstown, which is just south of Loveland. And have you been up here lately? I mean, holy shit. I mean,
it's huge.
The whole place is under construction. I feel like every bridge, every road. I mean, it's crazy compared to when you grew up here. Totally different, right? I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, it was like a little farm town. Like Johnstown was like nothing.
Yes. When I moved to Johnstown, there was one stoplight. That was only 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So yeah, I'm just curious about your background. I'm always kind of fascinated by people that work in cannabis, what kind of family environment they grew up in, and how that kind of went down and all that. So when you told your mom, you're like, hey, I'm going to do my own consulting firm. She a little tear. How'd your dad react?
Well, I actually don't speak to my dad. So yeah, so he didn't really have a say in it. But my mom
still don't talk to him? You still don't talk to him? How many years has it been since you talked to him?
Gosh, I don't know. Probably 15, 11, somewhere around there.
What?
I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
Do we need to call him out? Do we need to call him out right here on the podcast? What's his name?
No, we're not calling him out. That's terrible. But yeah, no,
did he do some bad thing? He must not have been a very good dad. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, no hard feelings or anything, but
no hard feelings. You haven't talked to him in 11 years. What do you mean no hard feelings?
Well, I mean, some people just weren't cut out to be parents, and that's just the way that it is. So but I have an excellent mom and I have an excellent stepdad. They got married when I was 18. Yeah. Okay. So,
he's good to your mom.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Like crazy good. We actually just went out to Michigan last week to go visit my big brother with them. It was pretty fun. Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Went fishing and stuff.
Okay. No kids. You and your husband don't have any kids yet?
Nope. I don't think we're really planning on it actually. We both have pretty big careers and we're pretty happy with the way it is. I mean, I guess if it happens, it happens, but I kind of don't see it happening.
What's your husband do?
So he does tech sales. He works for a company called Infoblox, which is like a security software company in Portland. And so, yeah, he works and sells that.
None of his friends have wives that have as cool a job as you do, right? I mean, when he's sitting around at work and all the guys are like, oh yeah, so what's your wife do? And he's like, well, my wife owns a cannabis consulting firm. So nobody can beat that.
Well, he does like to talk about it. I'm sure it brings up a lot of like, he says it's a good icebreaker or like,
I'm sure. I'm sure. Cause then they're like, well, can we like go out to the car right now and break? And do you have any like with you?
Right. Did she have any free samples?
Totally. You get all of that, right? They play all kinds of jokes. They're probably giving a bunch of hell. Okay. Very cool. I like to know a little bit of personal life there. All right. Very good. And you got any dogs?
Yes, I do have a dog. His name is Balder and he is a Rhodesian Ridgeback mix. And that's my only pet that we have right now. Does he get the hemp treats or no? Yes, he does. He actually loves the CBD treats. He gets anxiety from like loud noises and stuff. So especially around like 4th of July, I give him a lot of those.
Do you
So
get those now? I've had a few pet hemp CBD executives on the podcast. What brand do you go with?
it kind of depends, but I really like Boulder Hemp. They have some really great CBD dog treats out of there. They have it's like two different companies. They have a dog treat company and their like human company, because they're working towards GMP certification right now. So,
Okay.
And then Earth Buddies is another, that's a really good one too. So,
Okay. Cool. Why'd you move to Portland?
So I have been trying to find an excuse to move to the Pacific Northwest for quite some time.
Really?
Yeah. So my husband got the job that he has now, which is based out of Portland, even though COVID, so he works from home anyway.
Okay.
But also the other thing is the psilocybin industry. So Oregon is the first state to medically legalize psilocybin. And we started our psilocybin division of the first of this year. So it was kind of a strategic move to move out here as well, just to be closer to where the regulations were being written and where kind of that psilocybin industry would be launching. So yeah, and also we had a lot of clients in Oregon and they were constantly flying us out. And it's like, hey, why don't we just have someone in Oregon, at least one person, to be able to go make those site visits without having to charge them extra. You know, the more spread out we are, the better. And the cool thing about our company is we're completely remote. So really any of our consultants can live wherever they want. And if they have, clients that are close, they can just take care of them from there. So
do you happen to know Del Jolly? Do you recognize the name Del Jolly at all?
I recognize that name, but I'm not sure if I know him.
Okay. I know a few people in that industry. We've done some recruiting for them. So you're a psilocybin, you're a mushroom fan, obviously.
Big time. Yes. I think it's great. I think it's one of the best medical discoveries of our time. I think it's going to change the way that depression and PTSD are actually dealt with in the future.
If you're on a camping trip in Oregon and you're trying to relax for a Saturday, are you doing cannabis or taking a mushroom? Which one are you doing?
So mushrooms are like a once a year experience because
so okay. Now I'm not a mushroom expert. I apologize.
Some people need to microdose all the time. Some people can do them every weekend. I don't have a lot of time on my hands is my problem. So
and if you take some mushrooms, you need time because it blows your whole day. Like
6 hours to I just don't have 6 hours in a row that I can't that I don't have to work or do something. So it's maybe a once a year experience, but it's always good to, do that and kind of kill the ego a little bit and bring you back to reality and all of that. I don't know if you've done any research, but
I know a little. I mean, Riderflex has done recruiting hemp, psilocybin, cannabis, and so I know a lot of people in the industry, but I haven't personally tried mushrooms. Now, cannabis, on occasion here and there, I'm out for the weekend. Sure. Yeah, no problem. But I like, cannabis for me is almost like having a bourbon. Like I know how long it's going to affect me, whatever hour or so, and then it's over and I'm back to normal.
Yes.
But I have shied away from the mushroom thing because of what you just mentioned. Like it's like when somebody invites me to play golf on a Saturday, I'm like, man, that takes all day. I just don't I don't want to blow a whole day for that.
Yeah. And so, and that's exactly right. You have to, if I'm out camping and I'm planning it and it's going to be that weekend. Okay. And you have to be around the right kind of people. You have to be in the right mindset, so there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not something that I can do every weekend.
Well, I had a friend of mine. He calls me. He says, "Listen, I want you to come journey with me." And I'm like, "What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Journey with you." And he's like, "Well, you're going to do some mushrooms, and I'm going to make sure you have a handler." And I'm like, "Okay, no, that's that's too much for me. I don't need. If I have to take something where I need a handler, I can't do it." But what about this micro? What is it for the listeners that have no idea what you're talking about? Microdosing, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so microdosing is kind of a newer thing. People do it with cannabis as well. In fact, when like edibles, I can't eat edibles. My liver actually doesn't break them down properly and makes them very, very potent for me, which is actually fairly common for a lot of people.
Interesting.
So I don't eat edibles unless they are like 2 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams, which is a very small amount.
Which is like a little tiny bite of a gummy bear.
Yeah. Whereas I can, smoke an entire joint and I'm good. Gotcha. It's just a very different experience, and everyone's metabolism is different. So it just kind of depends on what you like and what you want to do. Microdosing with psilocybin is just the same kind of thing, a very, very small dose. Okay. Usually done, 4 days in a row and then 2 days off or something like that. A doctor would be able, a psilocybin doctor would be able to tell you exactly how much each person should be able to do. But it's just enough. You don't even really trip. In fact, many people don't even notice that they're taking it, but they've seen some really, really excellent results when dealing with people who have clinical depression, PTSD, like really bad anxiety, that kind of thing. And so it's really interesting. I know a lot of people that do psilocybin, every week, 4 or 5 days in a row, and then they have to take some time off because your body actually builds an immunity to it, if you will. So you have to kind of, I don't know all the science behind it, but it's pretty interesting, and they have seen really great results with it. So I think if I had really terrible anxiety or, something, PTSD or something, that would be something that I would look into. But I really don't. I really think that just the mind opening and like bringing back to reality, that's kind of the way that I use psilocybin. Okay.
I'm the same way with the edibles. I have family members that prefer those before bed or something, but I guess because I'm so old, right? I grew up super old school with smoke, with flower, and same thing. I can control it more. I feel like I can control it more. Like I know how much to hit, how long it's going to last. Pretty much. I take an edible. I feel like I don't have any control. I don't know how long this thing's going to last. When is it going to hit? I don't like that.
Yeah. And that's really common. Some people, I think when I first started using cannabis, it was because of insomnia. I have terrible insomnia.
Yeah.
And a couple hits before bed does wonders.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Totally agree.
And I hate taking the melatonin. I don't do Ambien. I don't like any of that stuff. So it was a really good, alternative. So, a lot of people they like taking just like a 5 milligram gummy before they go to bed, and that works. But I'm the same way. I think a lot of people can't put their finger. I mean, I know friends of mine, because obviously I work in the industry, they can eat like 100 milligram chocolate bar and still like function during the day.
No way. I don't know I don't know how people do that.
No way.
For the listeners that may not be experts, if you're, especially if you're older and you grew up in a time where cannabis, all your friends are going to jail because of cannabis, crazy times, and now you're older and you're thinking, I might want to experience some cannabis. For sleep, for bedtime, I highly recommend, if that's how you want to start, just try a little bit before bedtime. You will sleep so much better. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Very good. I'm glad we're talking about some of these things. I just want to kind of relate to everybody what it's like in this world, and if they haven't experienced mushrooms, which I think a lot of people have not, because it's definitely new right now and a hot topic, especially where you're at in Colorado. Do you like living in Portland better than Denver, though? I mean, really?
So I actually live outside of Portland.
Okay.
I'm about 45 minutes outside of Portland, technically.
Okay.
And my I have 15 and a half acres.
Oh, sweet.
In a 2,000 person village that backs up to Mount Hood National Forest.
What?
So I am out in the country. So it really isn't the same as living in Portland.
Your property connects to National Forest?
Yes.
What? Okay. That's all right. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. Okay.
I'm
hanging out. Tell your husband we're coming up. Hang out. We're going to hang out.
Hey, feel free. I mean, we've got a whole tiny home on the property now.
Nice.
I mean, we love it. We're 11 minutes from the slopes. So we're in heaven. We wanted to get out of the city. Not that we didn't love Denver, because Denver is truly where my heart is. But you get tired of the traffic, and we weren't going skiing anymore because it was like I-70 for 3 hours.
Totally.
I just we didn't do it anymore. And so we wanted to move somewhere that we can enjoy nature again and be kind of a little bit away from people. and a little
Yeah.
closer to the mountains. So that's what we did.
You're,
So I
oh
love
my
it.
gosh, I totally agree. First of all, for all the listeners, yeah, hey, I love Colorado. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to feel like I'm being negative, but going up I-70 on Friday and coming down on Sunday, it is a nightmare. Like it's crazy. They're going to have to do something more than what they've done already. It's just out of control. Way too many people. I live in Johnstown, which is right next to Loveland. When I go to the mountains now, I just go up to Medicine Bow. I go up to Wyoming because I can't do it. I can't, it's too crowded down further south. Anyway. Okay. So I get it. Yeah. That sounds like a cool place you have. All right. So let's go all the way back now to Allay. First of all, why the name Allay? Allay. And by the way, for the listeners, just so we're all on the same page, it's allayconsulting.com, Allay, allayconsulting.com. You can look Kim up there, study her company. Also, you can look up Kimberly Stuck on LinkedIn and connect with her there. Tell us why the name, and then walk us into why it's so awesome. Go for it.
So when I was trying to come up with names, I was trying to I have a marketing team that is absolutely amazing. Marketing as a service. They're out of St. Louis. They're totally awesome. Colin Millstone is the owner. He's amazing. He did all of my branding, all of my logos and everything.
Colin, now for that shout out, you have to give her a discount on next month's invoice.
Yeah. Right.
We're all
yeah.
on the same page.
But yeah, so I was just trying to come up with names. The original name was North Star Consulting. I was like, yeah, but then Colin was like, hey, Google North Star Consulting. And I did. And there was literally thousands of them. And I was like, oh, that's not what I want. No. So I was like, okay, I need a name that tells people, my clients, like, I'm helping them sleep better at night. I'm helping them know that the products that they're making in their facility are clean and safe. And, they're not going to poison anybody, and they're compliant with regulations. They don't, because it's very stressful to be a cannabis company, because you're always worried if you're doing something wrong. And if you don't have guidance and absolute assurance that you're doing the right thing, it can be very, very stressful. And so I found Allay because it's actually an English word. It means to calm or soothe stress and anxiety.
Oh,
so
all right.
Yeah. So that was, I was just Googling essentially, and that's what I found. And I was like, what about Allay Consulting? And he was like, that's perfect. I've never heard of that before. So, so that's what it became. And
nice.
It worked out. And, our company, we're really based around operational compliance. So the issue that we have nowadays is that most edibles and tinctures and concentrates and vape pens and things like that are not actually regulated by a public health authority at this time. And that goes for the CBD market, as well as the THC market, as well as Delta 8 and THCO and all those other cannabinoids that are, becoming in the news and all over the place. And because of that, there is a public health issue. Everything that is on the shelves, I think that consumers believe have been regulated by some kind of government official. And when it comes to cannabis, that's really not the case.
Scary.
It is. It's very scary. But the good thing is that there are some really great players in this industry. There are some really, really awesome companies that go out of their way to follow those kinds of guidelines, regardless of whether it's required or not. And that's kind of where our company comes in. So people will hire us and say, hey, we want to be compliant with FDA standards, or we need to be compliant with OSHA standards and protect our workers. Or, hey, we want GMP certification, which is based on the FDA guidelines. So it's very similar to being
what GMP, what is, I don't know if they know, listeners may not know. GMP, go for it.
Yeah, so GMP is good manufacturing practices. And so what it is a certification from a third-party company. Sorry, my dog is making noise.
That's all right.
But it's third-party accredited certifying companies that were accredited by like ANSI and stuff. They give certification to these standards. And so they write a standard that's based on the FDA regulations. And then they make sure that those companies are following those standards. So if you're in wholesale food manufacturing of like any kind of good, so like even Coca-Cola, Lay's potato chips, they all have GMP certification. The industry kind of demands that you have that. And
Okay.
so cannabis is becoming the same way. And in
Uh-huh.
fact, many states have written it into their regulations that you have to have GMP certification before you can even get a license. So like in Florida, New York, CBD companies have to get GMP certification. In
Okay.
Michigan, if you get GMP certification, you don't have to test as much. So it costs a lot less.
And you can get that certification through LA.
Yes. So we are a consulting company, not an accredited certifying body, but you can't be both because
Ah,
of ethical issues. Yeah. So we work with 5 accredited certifying bodies right
I
now.
see. I see.
Mhm. And so we go in and we get you prepared and train all your staff and write all your documentation and change everything around to where it needs to be. And then we do mock audits and all of that stuff to get you prepared for that certification. And
And
then
these
we
five,
call in the certifier.
oh,
Yeah.
and these five service or five, what do you call them? Vendors, or what do you call them? I don't know what they're called. These, you said five.
Certifying bodies is
Certifying bodies. Sorry.
what.
Do they refer business to you, or you refer business to them, or both?
Both. Yeah, vice
Nice.
versa. So if they have a client that comes to them and says, "Hey, we want GMP certification," they're like, "Cool, we can do that." And then they go, "Well, can you help us get that? We don't know what to do." They have to refer to a consulting group. And so
Mm-hmm.
we just happen to be the cannabis consulting group that does that.
But
So
you can do,
it's
do
great.
FDA and OSHA stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
We essentially focus on operational compliance, and we don't really go outside of that. So, when people are talking about financial compliance and HR and all of that stuff, we
I
don't get
see.
involved with.
I see.
But
I see.
but
When you
OSHA,
say,
worker
when you
safety.
say
for
ops, you mean manufacturing, the production of the goods themselves, like how they're making the gummy bears or whatever.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And then
Okay.
also in cultivation, we can do GAP, which is good agricultural practices,
Mm,
which is
mm.
very similar, just in a different kind of facility.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. And who do you target? Do you target all cannabis companies, small, mid-size, large? What's your target?
So we have cannabis companies, oh my gosh, that are in 15 different states and 3 different countries. And, we have those really big hitters. But the way that we kind of do everything is almost on a sliding scale. We can have 5 hours a month to 40 hours a month. It's kind of whatever your budget will do. So we also have little bitty ma and pop shops
Mhm.
that are like 3 employees, and we're helping
Okay.
them get GMP. So it kind of just
Do you
depends.
assign a consultant? So you have consultants that work on your team and they all get assigned to these accounts,
Yep,
and
you got it.
the account says, I can afford 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week, stuff like that.
You got it. Yeah, we
Is it-
usually do it by month, but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of whatever they want to do. We can increase and decrease at any time. So if something comes up and they need an extra 10 hours that month, then as long as we have the bandwidth, and we're not on a wait list, which we are a lot of the time.
Nice.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, it isn't fun when we
Hard.
have to tell people,
All
sorry, we're
right.
on a wait list. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So but yeah, I mean, most of the time, especially if they're already a signed contract and a signed client, we will work or add another consultant to them and do what we can to make it work.
Month to month.
Yep, month to month.
Wow, that's nice. Most of the time you have to sign up for more. Okay, month to month. And do I have to sign up for a minimum amount of hours? Like, does it have to be at least 10 a week, or at least
So at least 5 a month.
at least 5 a
Um,
month? I see. Okay.
mhm.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's the smallest contract that we give. And 90% of our contracts are at least 12 months long.
Very nice. Great business model. Are these contractor 1099 folks that work with your company, or are these employees?
These are full-time employees with benefits.
Full-time employees. What
Yeah,
happens
I
if
learned pretty quickly that the standard that I want my employees to work at are much higher than what you can get with 1099s. I
Mm,
actually can control, their end product, the way that they act, their, presentation of
mhm,
themselves, what they
mhm.
dress, that kind of thing, which is really important because there is a big lack of professionalism in the cannabis industry. And us,
Really? I never heard that before.
no, yeah. So that professionalism that we have is unique and it's really good and it makes people put a lot of trust in us. I mean, it
Very
sounds
good.
really stupid, but being professional and being on time and that kind of thing is very important.
I'll never forget the very first time I went to there was a cannabis meeting in this conference room, supposedly there was going to be a meeting, right? I got a notification. There was going to be a meeting at 1. I show up in this conference room at this cannabis facility and I'm the only one in there. And I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, well, I thought there was a meeting at 1:00, but I'm the only one in here. I don't know. The meeting maybe started at 2. People just started trickling in, late, this and that. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Now the professionalism has gotten a lot better over the years. It's getting better and better every year, but boy, yeah. When you first started in 2017, holy cow.
Well, and when I was a regulator, 2014, that was like, I mean, there were still people in grows with like flip flops and, it was just like, who am I? What is going on? And it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, people trust our brand and they, we're all certified professionals.
Good.
Certified quality auditors, like, we're the best of the best. And so I like my team to be the best of the best. So.
How many employees?
So right now we have 3 consultants. We have also have a business or oh my gosh, what is the actual title? Like a salesperson.
Okay. Biz dev.
Yeah. Biz dev. Yeah. All right. And then me. So I do actually take on clients every once in a while. Most of what I do nowadays is expert witness work.
No, that's lucrative. That's lucrative.
Yeah. And it's really challenging and exciting. And I love that.
You have relationships with law firms then that call you and say, I need you to testify.
Yes. Yeah. So
that is a whole nother revenue stream for you that could probably, that could be huge.
Yeah. I don't take on every case just because of time constraints. I am running a company on top of doing all that. But if there's one that I really think is important, then yeah, absolutely. I'll get involved.
This new biz dev, is this a new biz dev person for you, by the way?
No, so we've had him for over a year now.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you don't have to go out and close the deals anymore all by yourself.
Yeah, not all by myself. I still do. I like the sales side. So really my job is to be the face of the company now. So, I still run everything on the back end, scheduling things and that kind of stuff, obviously signing contracts and all of that. But does he call you and be like, Kim, I need you to come to dinner with this one. I can't get this guy to sign the contract. Usually it's a call nowadays because COVID won't allow me to go to dinners anymore.
Right.
But I just speak at a lot of conferences, really. I mean, I speak at a bunch of conferences. I'm actually speaking in Raleigh, South Carolina or North Carolina. Oh my gosh. On Saturday.
Right. Okay. And you get a lot of prospecting there, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just love speaking. I'm a public speaker. It's what I love to do. And so, I've been doing that a lot. I just got back from Chicago a week ago from speaking out there and now going to North Carolina. And after that, I'm speaking at MJ BizCon twice actually this year. So
now you're getting enough leads for the business where you're actually having to turn away. I bet that's hard, right? Somebody says, hey, we need a consultant in Chicago for 4 weeks. And you're like, that's hard saying no, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, most of what we can do remotely, which is really nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily have to be on site. We can do everything virtually. We've got a really good system down for that. We kind of saw the writing on the wall. I mean, it's very expensive to have to fly people out and pay for them to like stay in a hotel the whole time. So if we can do anything through like FaceTime or, WebEx or whatever, we try to do it that way as much as possible.
Do you also get access to all the cameras that are in the facility so you can look in to check the operations?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
For
the
listeners,
pretty often.
Yeah. For the listeners that don't know, I mean, a cannabis facility has a camera in like, I don't know, every corner of every room.
Yeah. Lots and lots of surveillance. So,
so you can watch almost everything. I mean, you could watch everything you're doing and never even have to go there. I guess you can't touch the plant or whatever, but I mean, beyond that, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And we're not grow consultants. So, and that's the other thing is we partner with a whole lot of other consultants. That do other stuff. Like we are not grow consultants. If a plant is dying, I can't tell you what's wrong with it. Like I can't fix that plant for you, but we have people that can. And so that's the other cool thing.
Have you ever thought about scaling your business through acquisition and bringing on people that, are experts at other things like being a grow consultant? Have you ever thought about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that might be an eventual plan someday. But right now we're really, we're growing organically. We're doing really great. Our numbers are good. I feel like, give it another 5 or 6 years and that might be the way that we go. But as of right now, those needs are really met. It isn't a nationwide thing yet. The industry is actually fairly small still. And I'm not sure, I don't want to grow too quickly and take on more than I can chew, if you will.
Can you share? Do you want to share revenue or no? Probably not, huh? You want to tell us what you're going to?
Yeah. If I can avoid it, I will.
Okay. That's all right. I understand. Oh, I meant, do you want to share how big the company is? Like, what are you going to do in revenue this next year or this in 2021?
So we'll probably be over $1 million at that point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. $1 million. Are you 100% owner?
Yes.
You are no outside cash, no investors.
No investors. Nope. I bootstrapped it from the beginning.
Was that scary, by the way, did you come home and tell your husband, you're like, hey, yeah, well, you already said you're like, hey, I'm going to start a consulting. He's like, yeah, you should do that. When you gave your notice at the state, right? Because I guess it was a state job, right? When you gave your notice, was that scarier than hell? You're like, oh, I can't believe I'm walking away from this job with benefits and everything else.
Yeah. So it was a cush job, and yeah, pension and benefits and all of that stuff. And the worst part about it was I absolutely loved my team. I loved my boss. I loved the people I worked with. I loved what I did. Obviously it was really stressful because I did have to go to court a lot and I had to dispose of a lot of plants and a lot of products and make people very unhappy most of the time.
Ooh, I bet you made some enemies along the way too, huh?
Oh, I've been death threatened. I've been shot at. Yeah.
Whoa, that's a whole. You just opened it up for a whole nother hour. What? Seriously, you've been shot at?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe not at. More like they were just trying to scare me away. But yeah. I mean, I was wearing a bulletproof vest for the last few months of my job.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Okay. No wonder your husband's like, yeah, let's do something different.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I loved the team. In fact, when I put in my 2 weeks, I just handed it in, I cried. Like, I was like, I am so sorry that I am doing this, but it's just, I gotta follow my dreams. I've got to do, this is something I really want to do. And,
what do you want to do with it? Is it a lifestyle business for you and your husband for now? Is it a lifestyle business for your family? Or is this something you're thinking, hey, I might want to scale this. I might want to take on some cash. I might want to take on some angel people or make some acquisitions, or right now you're just having fun building it?
So right now I'm just building it. Eventually it will turn into something a lot bigger. I have a lot of really good ideas for the future. And yeah, I think that this is going to get a lot bigger than it is right now, even though it's still, we've only been around for 4 years. So it's still pretty early on. And most companies don't even make it this long. So I'm just happy to be, I'm happy to be around, especially after COVID. What's
one of the scariest moments for you being a business owner? Share a humbling time where you maybe, I don't know, you woke up in sweat in the middle of the night, scared to death. I don't know. Share a scary moment about being a business owner.
Well, when the COVID shutdowns actually happened. So I, at the time I had, 2 employees at that time, two consultants that were absolutely amazing and really went, above and beyond and just really risked their butt to try, they left their cush government jobs to come work for me. And then COVID hit. We lost, I think 6 clients in one day. Yeah.
6 clients in one day.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big hit. And at the time, we only had like 25 clients, so it was a big chunk of our revenue.
6 clients in one day. That was one of those afternoons where you might want to just do the mushrooms.
Yeah. Right. Or not. I don't know if that would be a good idea in that state of mind.
Wow.
I definitely drank a few scotches, but we'll say that. But yeah, so it was kind of that moment of like, okay, am I going to put in 110% or am I going to back away from this a little, or what do I need to do? And so, I cut my salary for 4 months during COVID because it was like the only way I wasn't going to be able to, I don't know, I was going to be able to do what I wanted.
And then you started paying, and you were paying yourself like what, like 30 grand a year or something, run rate or something like that?
No, I get paid pretty well, actually.
No, I mean,
when you cut it yourself, right? Oh, go ahead.
When you cut it down though, when you had to make a cut, I'm guessing that wasn't comfortable.
No, yeah, it was not fun. And then I hired 2 more people because I thought, okay, we need biz dev. That's the number one thing we need.
I see.
So we got Blaine online.
Okay.
And then one of my friends got laid off from the city. And I said, and she was actually my boss. And I said, I would be stupid to lose her. And so I asked her to come work for me. So we actually did that. And we ended up turning it around. We ended up getting more clients and ended up making it through COVID. It was a real gamble and it was very nerve-wracking, but we did it. And we're okay. We're hanging in there now. So
congratulations. Did you qualify for PPP and any of that?
I'm a cannabis company.
Oh, that's right. Let me ask you this. When you hired your friend, your ex-boss and the biz dev guy, did you have one of those moments where you're looking at the cash flow, you're looking at cash flow in the bank and you're looking at those new hires and you're like, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm going to run out of cash in exactly 15 months. Were you having those meetings with yourself?
100% every day, every single day. But the good thing is that I'm really good with money. I don't know. It's like one of those gifts.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank God. And all of my flights had been canceled. All of my business travel had been canceled. At the time I was building a house. So my mortgage was like $300 a month. Like it was actually like a really good time for it to happen, which sounds really weird. And so all of our expenses went way, way down. And so it made it a little easier to be able to do that. And the good thing is that, my team is like unbelievably amazing, 100% loyal. They are just the best of the best. And they stuck it out with me. We went through some really low number months, but we still pulled it through and kicked butt. And now we're back to normal stuff.
Was it weird the first time you called your ex-boss now that she works for you and you kind of had to tell her what to do? You're like, that feel weird?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I don't really have to tell her what to do.
Oh, right. Right. Okay.
She's really good. Yeah. And we had a really good friendship. And so it kind of, it was funny because she was actually my partner, my cannabis compliance partner. She was the next person that came onto that cannabis team. Okay. And so she was my partner for a year or so. And then she got promoted to my boss.
Interesting.
And so, I mean, we already had a great dynamic.
I see.
We tried out for the Amazing Race together and stuff. I know her very well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Were there some nights where you roll over in bed next to your husband and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's lonely at the top.
Yes,
I know that
it sure is.
You can't complain. There's no one to like when you're having a rough day, even when I would bitch to my husband about it, he'd be like, whatever. Like if you don't own a business, you don't understand. That's and you can't, whine about it to your employees because then, it's like, you don't want to do that. So when, bad days happen, you really have to dig deep and learn self-reliance and just realize that you can do this, whether you think you can or not. Just ignore those thoughts because you're either going to do this or you're not, regardless of how you feel about it. And
it's so true. It's so true. It's so true, Kim, for the listeners, and no disrespect to people that haven't been a business owner or haven't been a CEO. Let's just put both of those. Let's just lump both of those together, business owners and CEOs. Until you do one of those jobs yourself, it's just almost impossible for people like us to explain it. I don't care how hard we try to go over it and tell you about it. You just don't know until you live it. It is can be a very lonely, scary place. And until you live it, you just really don't know. Right. It's like, I compare it to, being in battle, right? You watch Saving Private Ryan on the movie screen and that's one thing, but when you're actually in the field getting bullets flying by your head, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. And other people only see the good side of this, right?
Right.
They see that, they see me speak at all these things, and they see all the articles, and they see the webcasts or podcasts and all of that. And they think, oh God, she's so successful and she's doing so great. They don't see all the right. Oh my gosh, freaking out about stuff. And yeah, you just don't know until you've done it. And I understand now why some people don't want to do it.
That's right. Most people are not cut out for it. Most people are just not. They just don't have the wherewithal or the stamina or the grit. I like to use that word.
Yeah, grit is a good word for it.
To handle it, which is fine. I mean, hey, we need great employees out there to help run companies. Not everybody can do it, but you're right. It is a very tough world, and you're also in a very tough industry when it comes to the regulations and compliance and the rules and all that. It's super hardcore, but then you also tie in the fact that you're dealing with some pretty dynamic personalities, and dynamic may not even be the right word. You're dealing with some personalities that are extreme in so many ways, from people who, quite frankly, used to be criminals and grow in the black market, and now all of a sudden they're like business owners, and you're talking to them about compliance, and they're like, what the hell, what are you talking about?
Well, and that's the thing is, my team, one of the things that I will say about our consulting firm over other consulting firms is we're very, very good at explaining things on a level that everyone can understand. We don't need to sound smart. We are smart. Yep. We know we're smart. We need them to understand it just as well as we do for us to be good at our job. And so we are very empathetic. We all love the plant, and we love the industry, and we love the people. So we're not judging them. I can't even tell you how many times people will call us and be like, okay, are you guys going to be mean to us because the last consultant talked down to us or treated us like we were lesser? And it's terrible. There's a lot of bias against the industry, and thankfully our team is really on your side. We really are trying to help them understand and become better business owners and be successful. We want these guys to make millions of dollars and blow it out and just be awesome. Where I think other consultants maybe are trying to take advantage of some people. I mean, we know there's a lot of snake oil salesmen in this industry. I can't even tell you how many times I've had to come in after another consultant and clean up what they had done because they had done it all wrong, and then they had gotten in trouble for it. So we've seen it all. And we actually think that people get taken advantage quite often in this industry. And we really try to show people that we are, a real consulting firm that really does care and is doing the right thing for the industry. I mean, they need allies so bad because there's so many people against them. It's crazy. Good
stuff, Kim. That's great stuff right there. It's true that everybody I've met in the industry, regardless of their professionalism level or regardless of their education level, their passion about wanting to do good and their passion about the product is for real. And, super deep passion about the product in the industry. And they all want to do a good job. They all care very much. Just because they might come from a different background and be rough around the edges or whatever. Yeah, no need to talk down to them because they all want to do a good job. No cannabis facility worker I ever met walked in wanting to do a bad job, right?
No. Yeah, they just don't know what they don't know, know? And I can't even tell you, when I was a regulator, I had so many people just look at me and be like, just tell me what I need to do. And I was like, I can't, you need to figure it out. And then when I became a consultant, now I'm like, okay, here's your 3 options, this, or this, this is how much this is going to cost, and I can't even tell you how many people have come to me and just been like, oh my God, that's all I needed. Thank you so much. It's a real weight off of them when they have someone on their side that actually knows what they're doing and isn't intimidated by regulators or by, auditors that are coming into their facility, because it is really intimidating to be regulated to the extent that cannabis is regulated.
Totally agree. Everybody I've met in the industry is really good people. I've met some rough characters, meaning super direct, super tough language, super intense for sure. That's another hour podcast. but good people deep down, right? Just because they're rough around the edges. Let's wrap it up here with a couple of entertaining, maybe some funny, a couple of little funny ones. So tell me what's do you have an interesting story for us where you're like, okay, one time I was at a meeting and then, they called me out to the car and they wanted me to test the product and I didn't really want to smoke right there. I didn't want to smoke right then because I got to go back out and open up my PowerPoint. And then how am I going to do that? You got anything you want to share? I want to share one too, but I want you to share first. Go for it. This is how we'll wrap up.
So the first, maybe not the first big client I got, but one of the first big clients I ever got. And this was back when because when I worked for the government, I didn't smoke. We were drug tested or, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So I was, slowly kind of getting back into it because I was like, well, now I work for the industry and nobody's drug testing me. I'm my own boss. So I'm going to smoke weed. Yeah. So I went, oh my gosh. So I am not a dabber.
Okay. Neither am I. Neither am I. Too strong for me. For the listeners, that's like super high, potent, strong cannabis, like way stronger than normal. So yeah.
Like 10 bowls in one hit or something. I mean, it's like a crazy amount. And so I was working for this really big company. They were really cool boardroom guys, really nice, super fun partiers, obviously. Okay. Yeah. And we're having the pre-audit meeting, right? We're sitting in their little boardroom. All of a sudden they have someone come in with a dab rig and everybody's taking a dab and it gets to me. And I had to be like, guys, I know that you're going to think I'm a narc, but I have to do an audit after this and I cannot do it if I'm dabbed. I cannot do that. And they all laughed at me and like called me. It was hilarious. Like, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, and they're like, you're not a narc, are you? And I was like, no, I swear, like, I can't work on dabs, guys. Like I'm your auditor. Like, it was so funny. And I felt bad, but at the same time, I was like, how do you guys do this all day?
I don't know how they do. I don't know how people dab and work. I can't do that. I don't know how hey, more power to you if you can. That's pretty good. You still got that client kept you though. They didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We ended up staying with them for years and years. But it's, it was just really funny. That was, because when I was a regulator, I didn't see that side of the industry. I never got to party with anybody. I couldn't even get a beer with any of them. Right. And they always asked, hey, can we get you a beer later? Or we're having a happy hour. Like I wasn't allowed to go to any of those industry events. And so
total opposite.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
now they want you. Big they're like, Kim, come on, the meeting's over. Let's go.
Yeah, we're even throwing like Allay Palooza in Denver, which is our little industry trade show. And we always have, there's cannabis everywhere and it's
everywhere,
very fun, but it was so like, okay, so this is really,
this is for real.
The CEO and the CFO and the COO are all doing dabs before their audit. Like, so bizarre, so different.
It is such a different industry. Yes. I'll keep it short, very similar. My partner and I were at a meeting with a huge client for us, the primary owner, the majority owner of a cannabis company. They had done a bunch of business with us as a recruiting firm. We'd placed a bunch of people there. We're at dinner and I made the mistake at the end of dinner of saying casually, hey, we should smoke together sometime, because I had never smoked with them. Keep in mind, I am once a month, me and my wife might be camping smoker kind of guy, right? I'm not like a regular smoker, but I will smoke, but not all the time. My partner, like never. So anyway, we're sitting there and I said, I'm not going to name the name of the owner, so we'll just call him Johnny. I was like, Johnny, we should smoke together sometimes. He's like, great idea. He's like, let me hit the restroom. We'll just go out to the car right now and smoke. I'm like, okay, yeah. And so he goes to the restroom. My partner's like, holy shit, man. He's like, are we going to have to smoke with him? I'm like, yeah. He's our biggest client. Like, yeah, I think we probably should. So we walk right out to the street on Denver. I swear to God, right out of this restaurant, right on the sidewalk. And he just pulls out this pipe and just lights up right there on the sidewalk. And keep in mind, I'm 54 years old. So I grew up in a time where I'm like looking around. I'm scared. I'm like, is this okay? I don't know what we're doing. My partner doesn't even know how to inhale. We're like standing there trying to smoke with this guy on the street corner, and my partner's scared to death and he fakes it out. And anyway, the short of the story is, I don't know what that guy had in the pipe, but when I walked to my car after the meeting, I swear, Kim, I just sat in my car in the parking garage for like 45 minutes. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's not 90s swag anymore, like
no,
it's
totally different. Totally. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, by the way, I smoked weed in the '80s. So yeah, in the '80s, it was just like this crap, and then this guy pulls out this stuff. I'm like, holy shit! I don't know what this is,
Mhm.
but this is. I'm on the floor. Anyway, the cool thing about, to wrap it up though, lots of great people in the industry that are super passionate about all the wonderful things that CBD and THC can do for people. And now you have built this consulting firm with all of this knowledge you have gained to help them, which I think is wonderful. So congratulations on what you've built, really.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not gonna lie. It's
And
been a roller coaster, but it's been awesome.
one more time for the listeners. So Kimberly stuck on LinkedIn, by the way. Connect with her there. Send her a bunch. She's got like 15,000 connections. That's a bunch. She loves to get like all those little sales messages that people send on the message thing on LinkedIn. So send her a bunch of stuff to try to sell her things. Do that right away. And then
Thanks.
allayconsulting.com is where you can look them up and contact them there if you need their help. Kim, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.